One of the big rumors for GTA 6 is that 70% of the buildings in game will have interiors. And this has been a long spread rumor. People have been saying this for months now, if not a year or two. And anytime I've seen people talk about interiors, I've always seen this rumor brought up. 70% of buildings will have interiors. If you're wondering where that came from, it actually came from a leak. I think it was either before trailer 1 or right after trailer 1. The head of development at Rockstar North, his son, actually leaked a little clip of GTA 6. It did get taken down very quickly, so you might not have ever seen it or even heard about it. But in the comments of that, the same son who leaked the video said that 70% of the buildings in game will have interiors. And like the internet does, people have just run with that rumor and with that number. Well, in today's video, I want to take a look at trailer 2 and actually see if this might be true, because I honestly don't think it will be. I think that is sort of a lie, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's not going to be any interiors or that the interiors are going to be bad in some way. It just might not be as many as a lot of people are hoping. So let's go ahead and hop into some of the screenshots and trailer 2 and see some of the interiors that Rockstar have already shown. Now this is just in order. We'll start with the trailer first and like the way it's played. I'm not going to show any footage because unfortunately Rockstar will like strike that sort of stuff. So we'll just look at screenshots. I mean, it's easy enough to do. We have obviously the trailer starting with Jason going into his house. I mean, this is the most obvious interior. We've seen it like 5 times in trailer 2 now. This is going to be the base of operations for most of the game, it seems. And you can get a little, brief view of the interior there. And it seemingly looks like you can just walk in. There's not going to be any sort of like loading screen or anything like that. You just walk through the door and boom, you're inside the building. And then as we continue, we'll see a couple of other instances like this. And this is very, very small, but through the windshield, you can actually see in the windows of the house in the background, it looks to be like there are some lights. So it's not just like the windows are closed and you can't see inside. You can actually see inside of that house. But that doesn't necessarily mean that is an enterable building. But I'll talk about that after we're done looking at the interiors in the trailer. Here we have another one, just another little shop, I guess. Obviously, this is the one where Jason goes and robs the guy or takes the guy's money. But yet again, another little interior. And obviously, with something like this, I mean, this is something we already have in GTA 5. The little stores, the gas stations, the clothing stores, stuff like that. Now, I wanted to bring up this picture because the high-rise buildings there over on the right, if I'll zoom in, you can actually see none of the interiors really look, or none of the windows look like they have interiors there. Or if they do, they are just very, very, very basic. And I think if anyone was expecting these giant high-rise buildings, I mean, this isn't even a high-rise building. This is just like a condo or something. But if anyone was expecting these sort of buildings to be enterable and like fully accessible, I think you're on some drugs, because that is just not possible in 2025. Maybe in GTA 7, we can get that level of detail and that level of accessibility, but not in GTA 6. And again, I mentioned, gas stations, stuff like that. Obviously, we have the shot of Jason walking out of the gas station. We also had the gas station from trailer 1. I think it was a gas station where they were robbing it. I'm sure we're going to get plenty of these little stores in this game that you can go in. And then we have the jail scene, the prison scene. Obviously, it has an interior. The big question that I think many of us are going to have after looking at all of these, are these interiors going to actually be open in free roam? Because in GTA 5, you had a bunch of interiors, but so many of them were locked through missions. So is this prison scene interior going to be the same? Is it also just going to be locked, to the mission where this isn't even a mission. It's just Lucia getting out of jail. But is it going to be locked like that? Or can we just freely walk inside of the prison? One of the interiors we saw quite a bit in trailer 2 was this bar in, I'm assuming, the Keys area. This is from the outside. Obviously, in the background, you can kind of see some stuff through the windows. We'll see some more of that in a few shots here. But here we have a warehouse. It's not necessarily an interior. I mean, we have a few warehouses in GTA 5. But yeah, obviously, we're probably going to get many of these little warehouse interiors, if you even want to call them that, in GTA 6. Here we do have that bar, though. Like I said, I think this is going to be another really big and popular spot that you go to a lot. It seems like this is a pretty key area, at least for the start of the game, but that's pretty cool. Now, one thing, as we're going to find out, I don't think we're going to get many interiors, but I think Rockstar are going to do a lot with the exteriors of buildings. I think this appears to be on some sort of like roof of a high rise, and you can see it's kind of popping up, bunch of NPCs, bunch of stuff like that. I think that's really where you're going to get some very cool, like immersive stuff with the NPCs and with the realism, and certain places like the yachts. I think you're also going to see NPCs and stuff on the yachts as well. And then of course we have the plethora of nightclubs, and of course we'll see some of the strip clubs as well. You're going to have a few of these scattered around the map. Then we get to this shot. Now this one is honestly, I think, one of the most interesting shots when it comes to the question of interiors, because clearly Jason and Lucia are, trying to escape from this apartment building. Maybe it's on a second floor. They're obviously an interior because Jason is inside of it helping Lucia out. And I think a lot of people may see this and think, okay, that's cool. Maybe we can actually do house robberies. That was in San Andreas. Maybe they bring those back. This isn't a house. This is an apartment. But, maybe this is a clue. We get that. I'm not entirely sure. And obviously there's been the rumor where they said we're not going to have house robberies. So we'll have to wait on that. Here we have an interior with the cops. Now this looks to be some sort of underground, secret place. So maybe this is something that is mission exclusive. You're not going to be able to access this in free roam. And then we have more stuff like the Fight Club. This is maybe another little warehouse area. As far as just random buildings, I think this is a decent screenshot. Just looking, I'll sort of pan through some of the background windows there. They just look like buildings. It doesn't really look like anything you can enter. You can't really see through any of those windows. I think that's what we're going to see a lot of in GTA 6, unfortunately. We're just going to have the buildings, but then the exterior, again, the exterior part is going to be super nice. You're going to see a lot of NPCs, a lot of immersive stuff in the outside part of the buildings. I'm not sure where this is. If this is it doesn't look like a strip club, but obviously there's a big party going on. But again, this is the outside. So I think that's what you're going to end up seeing a lot of. Although if we do zoom in, you can see some of the interiors, like through certain windows, and it is only a few windows that you can see lights on. So that is interesting. Like I mentioned, the strip club, there's probably going to be a handful of those around the map. And then here we have downtown. You can actually see the big skyrise buildings at nighttime. Quite a few of the windows are actually lit up. And especially over on the right, I'll zoom in up there. You might think that that is an interior that we can actually go to. But again, that probably isn't the case. And I'll explain why after we're done. We have the motel scene. So that's another interior, another little smaller interior we're going to get. And as far as the trailer goes, I think that's really all we sort of saw from the interior side. We'll actually go to the screenshots now. This is somewhere down by the beach area. And you can see at night some of the windows in the background there, especially on the right, they have different little interiors. One has a yellow light. One looks like it has a blue light above. On the bottom, if that's maybe a restaurant, it looks like there's seating there. But again, I don't necessarily think that is an enterable building. And in this screenshot of Raul, you can also see just the exterior. You're going to have a lot of NPCs just outside. It even looks like at the top left, there's some like TVs and stuff to make it feel more believable. In this screenshot of the two women on the car, in the background, again, you can just see more of the high-rise buildings at nighttime. That's what it's going to look like. Certain floors, certain, windows are going to be lit up. But again, you're not going to be able to really go in them. I'm sure there'll be a few high-rise buildings you can go into. It was leaked that there's going to be, elevators that can take you to the top. But it's not like you're going to be able to access, floor 52, floor 63, floor 33 or something like that. Now here is actually a really interesting image because it showcases what I'm talking about, where some buildings will have interiors and yet some buildings won't. And I think this also shows that 70% number is kind of a lie, because we'll start on the right hand side and you can actually see these buildings, they look shut. Like the windows, you can't even see them. You actually have curtains, so you can't even see inside. There's nothing. Even on the restaurant in the middle, you can see there's a ton of NPCs on the outside, but you can't actually see on the inside. There's the curtains on every single window, even the doors. But if we go to the left-hand side, we have this building where you can actually see on the inside. And what is a bit strange, there's no NPCs on the outside of this one. So there was NPCs on the outside of the building that didn't look like it has an interior, but the building here that does have an interior, there's no NPCs. So just from this picture alone, you know, just one of these three kind of big-ish buildings only has an interior. And I think that's going to be the case for most of the buildings in this map. As we continue, here is, I'm assuming that same bar we saw in the trailer. This is just maybe the outside, the front of it. It's called the Rusty Anchor, but you can see that it's kind of popping off. There's a lot going on. NPCs doing all kinds of stuff, which is very cool. But it also doesn't look like a giant interior, like the building itself doesn't look giant. So very, very small. Again, strip clubs here. We don't see inside of it, but we all know that's going to be an enterable building. And then here we have that motel. I don't know, maybe it's the same motel from the trailer, but when it does come to a motel, it's like, obviously you can go into the room that you get for Jason and Lucia, but what else is there to really see on the interior of a motel? So I'm not even sure if that's really something, you know, that's that exciting. Here we have an interior of the people, the bad guys, I'm assuming, you know, growing drugs. So maybe you'll see a few interiors with this sort of stuff going on. You got some illegal stuff happening. Then we have this shot of the NPCs on the balcony up top, actually looking over the pool into the ocean. And what's interesting about this one is it's not Jason and Lucia here. So that's I'm assuming just two NPCs. But again, they're just on the outside of the building. So there's some stuff on the outside, but probably not stuff on the inside. And then we have three more images left. Here's one again on the beach area. You can see actually ocean view. Now I would imagine out of any building in the game, the Ocean View Hotel would probably be one of the hotels or one of the buildings that you can actually go inside, because of course you could do that in the OG game. And it looks like that's the case. You see actually a few windows there open with interiors. Then we have the night shot of the city from above. And again, you can see on that big building on the right, some of the windows, some of the floors, you know, lit up. When it comes to this, I will just say, I hope, and you know, I would assume Rockstar probably think this far out, but I would hope they have a way to randomize that so it's not just the same rooms, the same lighting up every single night, just to make it feel a bit different, make it feel a bit more, you know, alive, so to say. But even something like the arena, if I just zoom into that, I don't know, maybe I could be wrong here. I hope I'm wrong. It doesn't really look like that's something that is enterable. It looks like there's an interior, but I don't think you can just freely walk into that in free roam. And then the final shot again is the daytime shot of the city. And with this one, obviously it's daytime, so you don't have lights, but on this building here, you can see some windows are open, some windows, you know, have the blinds closed. If I actually do zoom in a little bit further to that, you can see on the left-hand side, there's actually a little like picture frame in there. So they do appear to be populated, right? It's not just going to be a same boring example of an interior. There's going to be some different stuff, but you're not going to be able to go in there. So those are all the examples from trailer 2 and the screenshots. And the reason I keep saying you're not going to be able to go in there is because there's this technology in gaming, and it's been around for a few years now. It was notably talked about a lot in the Spider-Man games, but it's this thing called Parallax interiors. I'm not a game dev, so I can't explain the science behind it, but basically something like this is from some other game or some demo. This building looks like it has an interior, like a fully rendered interior, but none of that is accessible. You cannot walk in there. It just looks that way, and it saves tremendously on like the hardware processing because it doesn't have to render all of that. It's very, very nice, but it of course is a good way to make the building feel like it's an actual building. And here's just a couple of other examples. Like here's one, who knows what game this is from, but these little storefronts, they look like they're an actual store. You just can't go in them because it's the Parallax interiors that's making them look that way. And then here's the final one. Again, it looks like that's a building you can enter, but you can't. And this is great technology because if used properly, you can make games feel way bigger than they actually are. Because of course we've been playing GTA 5 for 10 years now. None of the buildings really have these parallax interiors, so it just feels like all the buildings are dead. It just feels like the city is dead when you're driving around. It's very, very boring. But seeing stuff like this, even though you can't go inside, it just makes the world feel more alive. And when it comes to GTA 6, we've already seen the game looks huge. There's so much happening, so many NPCs, so many little details. If all of that has to run on a base, PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, you can't also then have 70% interior buildings fully accessible. The hardware is just not there. And I think given what we've seen actually in trailer 2 and what I showed in this video, it looks like Rockstar know that. And they're not really focusing too much on the interiors, but they're focusing more on the exteriors to make them feel like the buildings are alive, so to speak, or the world is alive. I keep saying that, but that's really what it seems like Rockstar's going for, that immersion. Now, I feel like I've been pretty negative so far, but I will just say, to end this video a little bit more optimistically, we still have a year to go, right? So Rockstar can definitely add, some new stuff, but I wouldn't expect, these giant buildings to have interiors, or to be able to access interiors of 70% of the buildings in the game. We're obviously going to get quite a lot more than GTA 5. And if we just look at RDR2, Rockstar did a great job, in my opinion, in that game of having buildings also being accessible. But of course, the issue is RDR2 had far less buildings in that game on the map than a GTA 6 would. So there has to be some trade-offs here. And I just think we're just not going to end up getting as many interiors as so many people are expecting. Which honestly is fine though. Do we need that many interiors? As long as we have a good chunk, which I think we will get, I think we'll be fine. The one downside, if the rumor is true, no house robberies, that is kind of upsetting. Maybe that's something Rockstar could add after the game comes out as like a post-launch update or something. Again, if it's even possible hardware-wise. But really, that's the only thing in my mind that is a negative to not having as many interiors. So that is what we're going to end today's GTA 6 video. The 70% number might be a lie, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's all doom and gloom and it's all going to be bad. Like, from what we've seen, everything is looking pretty solid. Rockstar still have a year-ish to go. And we already saw from trailer 1 to trailer 2 how much they can accomplish in a year. So they might end up surprising us when the game does launch. But I would for sure keep your expectations a little bit lower than some of the rumors have been suggesting. But that is going to do it for today's GTA 6 video. Thank you guys for watching. Please drop the video a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe for more GTA 6 content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.